gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Another Unnecessary List, because we are here to give you a list of a list because we look at lists and tear them apart. My name is Anthony Krizwitz, and it is always my pleasure to bring to you the one, the only, the talented man from the north of me, north of you, maybe south of you if you live in Canada, but for everyone else, his name is Mr. Brian Meth.
Hello, Anthony. How are you doing today?
I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I've been going on and off with the strep throat for a while, and
You said that, man. That's not cool, especially in the summertime.
I think I know what the problem is. I figured it out like 10 minutes ago. So I've got an
You
Invisalign.
run too much.
No.
Oh, okay.
I've also gained like 10 pounds in the last 3 weeks, and my mother-in-law is living with us for like the next month, and she's cooking for us every night. And it's just like,
yeah,
it's brutal. But like, I've got Invisalign.
I was gonna say you look like you've lost weight. Okay, Invisalign. Sorry.
Well, thank you very much. I'll take that as I like that. But no,
cool.
So I got the Invisalign, and I put this pair in right after I thought my strep throat was done, and I think that like they just might have the germs on it. So I'm waiting to hold off on medicine until I get closer to when I swap them out this Saturday, and then hopefully I take care of it. But that's where it is. But tonight we are here to discuss the list otherwise known as Pitchforks 150 greatest album of the 90s according to pitchfork.com. Now, I will tell you something that's really interesting about this list. So we've been going back and forth on which list we're going to do. We were going to do comedy movies. We were going to do all these different things that goes back and forth. Our process of actually picking a list is probably just as interesting as the show itself, as I think we change our mind literally up until the day we post what we're going to do. But it makes it interesting.
Does it really, or does it just bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me at all.
Cool.
I'm probably prepared for 3 different lists right now. Like, we could probably do a marathon of lists if we really wanted to, but we're going to keep it nice and easy.
All right.
I will say this, though. In doing so, getting this list from you and looking into the albums of the 90s, I was like, man, like, were the 90s one of the better times of just so many one after another constant great albums of a 10-year period span? So I went down a rabbit hole like the 80s and the 70s and the 60s.
Yeah.
And I would say that the only other time that I would say, and it all depends on genre as well, because the 80s were, I mean, they had some of the greatest, punk and rock music, but the 70s really were another home run era when it comes to albums. I mean, complete albums, kind of like the 90s, in my opinion.
I agree. I think that every decade definitely has its things and different styles and different stuff like that. But I do think that the 90s definitely there was the obviously you got the hair metal morphing into grunge. You've got the rising of hip hop into the art form that it was, and really kind of coming into its own at that time. Which I think was created a lot of different styles of music, a lot of different types of albums. I think that was one of the things that really jumped out to me in this list, is just so many different styles of music. And I think that the diversity of the types of music on the list were pretty impressive. I loved the fact that, we're going to talk about the top 10 in a little bit more detail, but I love that there were women on the list. There were there were bands. There was hip hop. There was lots of different variety in the top 10. I didn't agree with all of it, but I think of the lists that we've done, this is one of the top 10s that I thought was kind of the most cohesive. And even though I didn't necessarily agree with all of the things in the top 10, like there are things that I would have subbed out in some spots, but I think overall it was a strong list from Pitchfork. So in comparison to, I think, some of the stuff that we've seen from Rolling Stone, where I think that, and we've talked about this in kind of detail on several different shows, that we think, it's our theory that Rolling Stone makes lists simply to piss people off. I did not get that feeling from Pitchfork. The Pitchfork list, I thought, had a lot more detail to it, especially, what they talked more about what they were looking at, what, kind of the criteria that they had in picking the lists. And they actually posted a really cool introduction to, because they did several lists that were best music of the 90s lists. And they were pretty clear about, that they spent more than 7 months pouring over thousands of albums and songs and making this package. So they did, the best albums, they did best songs. The process included several rounds of voting between staff and contributors, hours upon hours of listening rooms where the staff debated the merits of songs and albums, spreadsheets, Slack debates. I love that they just kind of broke down all of this stuff to give us really a foundation for where they came up with this list, as opposed to some of the lists that we've seen from like Rolling Stone, where it's just like, we just pick these things.
That's right. And no, it gives you a clear definition of how they came through with this list and where it came from and why they decided the way it was. Not just, like you said, like, we just threw shit on a wall and stuck.
One of the quotes that I'll pull out here, it says, you try battling out Elliott Smith's catalog against Outkast or Tribe Called Quest. Absolutely. I mean, and I think a lot of it kind of just dwindles down to, like, what do you like? What kind of moves you and stuff like that. And so I really appreciated that kind of little primer that they had put together. So that was a cool thing to see.
I think another interesting thing that I thought about once I was done reading this list and kind of getting my notes ready for the show is this truly, the 90s, is potentially the real last true era of albums, in theory. Because Napster comes out in 98, 99 gets hot and heavy. Now you start seeing bands start moving to more single-based, songs, and people are buying CDs just for a single. And then and then we start going into the download era, and then really albums are not nearly as important as they once were. So this is an interesting concept.
Agreed.
I think the 90s are the last kind of hoorah, or the last kind of what we're gonna get from when it comes to albums.
And I think part of that leads into the idea of, I think, the concept album, like the concept of the concept album. I think that in this top 10, there are a few, definitely a couple that I see, but there are a few that can fall into that area of the concept album. And I think that that's something that's kind of an art form that we are losing, because it's become more of a, a la carte kind of accessibility when it comes to music. So I was excited to see a couple of those.
Well, think about it this way too. Previous to 99, most of the charts that came out were your Billboard Top 100, where it was what was the radio playing, and then it was your album charts, what was being sold. And then it adjusted a lot to, after Napster and stuff, top singles. What were people downloading? What were people buying? Things of that nature. Album sales were still there. And then your Billboard Top 100. As things went on, it just went to singles, iTunes charts. Things started changing. And now, as of recently, now you're getting what they call TikTok charts, where it's basically a 30-second clip of a song, and that's how it's charted. And it's funny, there's a video online of kids that were given songs and saying, have you heard it? And they didn't even know it until it got to that chorus or that 30 seconds. Like, there's 90% of a song they don't even know about, but they love that 30 seconds, and that's where that artist is making their bread and butter right now. That money is just off a small piece of that song, which is wild to me.
Hey, man, are you familiar with that One Margarita song? Do you know? Because I'm telling you, I had that in my head for quite a while.
Yeah, so,
give me one margarita. I'm a something. Yeah.
But I will say that that is an inaccurate accusation of women. You give my wife 5 margaritas, she's going to bed.
Yes, exactly.
Done.
Not
not doing what that lady is rapping about. But the funny thing is, where the origin of that song is. I don't know if you've actually seen the video of the white woman.
Oh, I've seen it, and yes, the white woman. I think the white woman, and then the black lady that came up with the rap it's phenomenal. It's that's some shit. She's dropping it. So.
All right, listen, let's jump right into this list, shall we, Brian? Well, first of all, before we get into this list, it's been about a month since we've last talked. Anything crazy going on in your world before we jump into this list? Anything going on?
Not really, no. Just getting close to the dog days of summer. My birthday is coming up on Friday, so just gonna turn the big 4-8. So
get the hell out of here.
Just
I thought you were much younger.
I'm gonna be that's just how I see him on TV.
Dude, you're 10 years older than me, and you look 10 years fucking younger than me. It looks like we should be
I
role
appreciate
reversing.
that.
Fuck, I don't get this.
So yeah,
you, Trey, even Rob Benson, like all these people, even like Robert.
Do we all look younger than you?
How the fuck is it possible that I'm the youngest one out of everyone we do podcasts with, but for some reason I look like the senior citizen of the goddamn group?
I don't know. It's clean living, I guess.
Jesus.
I don't know what it is, but so yeah. But how about you? Everything other than the strep throat.
Yeah, strep throat, working like crazy. Got up today at 3:00 in the morning, worked, got home, took a quick nap. Watching. I've watched a lot of movies recently. I'm doing a lot of work for AMC, so I'm watching movies. So it's all good.
Anything good?
Oh God, yeah, I've seen a lot of good movies. I love the new Flash movie. Thought that was fantastic. The new Transformers was really good. The movie the new movie that Stephen King is based on, Boogeyman, was really good.
My daughter went and saw that over the weekend with some friends. She really
it was good. I enjoyed it. It was like it was good and creepy. Somewhere in Queens, the Ray Romano movie was hit real home. That's a fantastic movie. Definitely go out and purchase. I love Fast and Furious movies. Like, that's just cheesy, perfect, right to the point, keep it simple, love it. I wasn't a big fan of the Spider-Man movie. I just wasn't for me. It was a little too over the top.
I liked it. We went and saw it. We really enjoyed it. But I loved the different animation styles. Where, being an artist guy, I loved the different styles of animation. I'm really looking forward to the not the Transformers, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out. I think the animation looks really cool in that. So summertime is movie time. Gotta love that.
A lot of good movies coming out. I'm seeing Indiana Jones on Friday. I cannot wait for that.
Oh, you have to let me know how that is.
I will. All right, now let me see. Do I have I think I have something here that I can hit to get going. Here we go. And now, the top 150 albums. I should have like an echo or something like that. I think I screwed that up. Do I have an echo? Yeah. The top 150 albums according to Pitchfork.com. And at number 10, unsurprisingly that this album's in the top 10, Nirvana Nevermind. Any thoughts on this?
I don't disagree with it. Obviously the album that brought grunge to the forefront and to the masses. I think we all can agree that it is a formidable record, a great album. 10 seems a little high on the list to me. I would think that it would be, top 5. But I think a good spot for one of what I consider, obviously, I think a lot of people consider one of the great albums of our generation. And an album that I just, I used to listen to one of those albums that I used to listen to, front to back, every single song. And I do think it holds up to this day. It's still a record that I don't listen to incredibly often, but yeah, it's one of those. It's almost one of those albums that if I hear one of the songs, I need to hear the whole thing.
Oh, I agree with you on that one. And interestingly enough, most people don't even realize that this is not even their first album. A lot of people associate this as Nirvana's first album. Bleach was their first album, which Bleach is another. I think that's their best album ever, honestly, in my opinion. I love Bleach. But what's interesting about this album, this is what shows you the difference in times of how music came out and how it really affected. The first single, which was Smells Like Teen Spirit, which was their most popular video that ever came out, which really took over the charts and stuff on MTV with a cheerleader, gym, whole scenario. There's a guy that talked to me years ago when I was first started doing podcasts, and that was in the video. I'd love to get him on the show. But the single came out on September 10th in 1991. The next single was Come As You Are, March 3rd, 1992. Months later. In July, which you're talking months more later, July 13th, 1992, was called Lithium comes out. And then November 30th, over a year later after the first single came out, was In Bloom. So literally a year and 2 months separated from the first single to the fourth single. And this album went on to do amazing, amazing things. And I'm trying to see what the how many albums it sold. I think it's on. If you go to Wikipedia, it has a number on there.
I believe it's at least Diamond, which is 10 million, but I believe that it's more than that.
Oh, it's insanity. Let let's see, weekly chart performance for 20. Oh, that's a 20th anniversary anyway. But yeah, no, I mean, just so much. Here we go. United States of America, 10,640,000 copies just in the United States alone.
Mm-hmm.
That is, if I could have a penny for each one of those sold, that would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just like you said, with the way that they used to release singles back then. I mean, so Teen Spirit was the first single, and then what would you say, Come As You Are was the second
Yep.
single, and that was months later after the album had already been to number one. So it became number one in January of '92. Um, so just I mean, I think it really picked up from where Bleach left off. Obviously, Kurt really leaned into his songwriting chops. I mean, it still has the punk influence on there, but a lot more of the um, clean, clean songwriting. The songwriting that became known for. That Beatlesque kind of melody and things like that, and uh, a lot of that really changed the production from Bleach. Bleach was really stark and grungy and rough. This one was a lot more clean. They obviously went back to more of a rough sound on In Utero, which was the follow up. But yeah, number 10. I mean, I think In Utero fell in like the 75, which was where it was on the list. I thought that was a little high too, but
I agree with you on that
never
one.
mind. Yeah, but never mind at 10. I mean, I think it's one of the great albums in music history, and I'm happy with it at 10. Although I think it could have been in the top 5 as well.
I would have liked seeing Pearl Jam 10 at 10, and I would like seeing this at number 4, personally.
I did have, obviously we, are Pearl Jam fans, so I think a lot of my thought was, what's my thought about like my top 10 or my favorite 10, and I had to go to what's my favorite Pearl Jam record, and what Pearl Jam record would I want to be like in the top 10. For me it's it would be No Code, but
Okay.
I think I was a little disappointed that Pearl Jam wasn't higher, but it is Pitchfork, so they tend to be more indie based, so I kind of understand where we're coming from there.
All right. Now, let me get the drum roll, please. I gotta move these things around. It's been a while since I've had. Here we go. Coming in at number 9. It is A Tribe Called Quest, the Low End Theory. First of all, I think we've had this conversation before because Tribe Called Quest has been on previous episodes when we talked about it. A Tribe Called Quest is one of the most underrated artists that come in a long time. I feel like not enough people talk about their influence on modern day rap and how, if you go back and see how they really created and really produced rap albums in the 90s, how heavily influenced they are to modern day rap. And even going all the way through, I mean, God, anything after Tribe Called Quest, a lot of people try to mirror and mimic because it was such a fun, great sound. The way they sampled things, the way they utilized things, how clean their vocals were coming across. They were so different than some of the rap artists. It was such a great way for them to just be different, separate themselves, and really cement themselves in the legacy of building what rap is nowadays.
I agree. I thought in the write up on the website that the first sentence that said Q-Tip once told Dr. Dre that he made A Tribe Called Quest's '93 album Midnight Marauders after listening to The Chronic. Dre told Tip that he had to make The Chronic after listening to the Low End Theory. That spoke like volumes to me. I'm a huge fan of The Chronic. It's one of my favorite hip hop albums. But listening to this one, I was you could see that. I think you could see a connection between the two, certainly from a production standpoint. But the rapping on this is so high quality and just great lyrics. When I was listening to it, it just flows so well. You've got Scenario on there. That's one of my favorite Tribe songs. I don't think you can argue with the fact that this album and Tribe are incredibly influential. really kind of set the standard for MCs at that time, and even for Dr. Dre, obviously. So I thought that was a really cool mention in the write up, and I was really excited to see Tribe on there and this record because it was really fun. I really think it's cool about the top 10 um, from a hip hop perspective. We're going to see a couple other hip hop albums pop up on here, and um, I think that this is one of the things this is one of the things that the list got right as far as what hip hop albums they actually chose to be in the top 10. Um, just knocked them all out of the park, and really, really great examples of 90s hip hop, but 90s, like really super influential 90s hip hop, like stuff that there's one that's going to come up here in a couple that I was listening to today. And I was just like, I can't believe how good this, like, this is so good.
Yeah.
And it's like 30-40 years later, and it's better than half of the hip hop that's out there now. So,
well, the crazy thing too is they could have easily went with a lot of fan favorites, and we'll discuss that later when the ones that didn't make the top 10. They could have went through some, and people were like, oh, I can see why. I don't agree with it, but I can see why. They didn't do that. They literally went with a lot of things that made sense. So I do, and I agree with it. I think it's in the right place too. I think number 9 is very fair. There's 3 singles from the Low End Theory. Check the Rhyme was released on September 9th, 1991. Only one day before It Smells Like Teen Spirit came out. Crazy. Think about that.
yeah, you think about all the albums, and people will talk about like all the albums that came out around that same period of time, and Blood Sugar Sex Magic and 10 and Nevermind. I mean, it's wacky that so many of those albums came out within like a month span. I mean, yeah.
The second single was Jazz We've Got, released on November 27, 1991. And then the third and final single from the Low End Theory was Scenario, which I think we all agree was the best song off the album, on March 13th, 1992. And if we look going all the way down, because now I found out how we can figure out where the album sales are, or maybe I don't. Okay, here we go. No, I don't think this has the list. Damn it. Just when I thought I figured out everything, I was completely
Figure out
wrong.
the Wikipedia.
No, I was wrong. It doesn't matter. It's a great album. It's very deserving of being at number 9, and I think it definitely sets the bar high for artists nowadays. Now, let's get going with, here we go. At number 8. We have Hole, Live Through This. Hold on a second. I have another one that I don't know either agree with or don't. Let me justify the trombone here.
Kick it off. Well, you don't have to justify it, but kick it off.
I don't mind Courtney Love as much as other people do. I don't think that her talent is a reflection of her, but by the reflection of other people that were put around her that built her up to be the person she is. This album is not a reflection of what Courtney Love was able to do. If you look at later Hole albums, you'll start seeing what she was able to do. Were they bad albums? No. Was this a great album? Yeah, but it wasn't a Hole album. This was a Kurt Cobain album that was written for a Hole. This is a fantastic album. But in the same sense, too, like if you listen to Courtney Love now, she's just not the musician that can carry this anymore. She can't write this again. If you go back to Nirvana's albums consistently were fine. They were good. They were great. Tribe Called Quest consistently made good music. This was Hole's only good album, and it still is not a top 10 album. I love this album. I've listened to it many of times. I've worked out to it. It's a fun album. But every time I listen to it, I'm like, man, I wonder what it would sound like if Nirvana played this song. I wonder what it would sound like if...
Yeah, and I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy that's gonna like take a woman and say, oh, she's only successful because of a man and blah blah blah. But I think if you look at Hole's output, and if you look at the fact that yes, she was with Kurt when this album was made, the album before she had Eric Erlandson was writing with her. After this album, who did they bring in to work on Celebrity Skin? Billy Corgan. Why do you need to, and I don't want to like conspiracy theory or whatever, but why do you need to bring in these extra people to make records? Is my thought. And That's just and it's all speculation and it's
Yeah.
speculative. And are there songs that are on here? Are there songs that I like on here? Yeah, sure. Um, but I think when you look at the songs on this record and you compare them to other Hole songs, there's not like you hear a Nirvana song, you hear a Smashing Pumpkins song. There's a Billy Corgan, Kurt Cobain style. Um, I don't think there really is a whole style of music because it's constantly changing, and I think it's constantly changing because there isn't just a style to, you listen to people, you listen to musicians, you listen to how they write songs, and you see commonalities, and I really don't see that with songs from Hole. I just don't, and I don't want to say that Kurt wrote it, but he was there, and there were probably things that he wrote along the road that didn't make it on Nirvana records. But
Well, look
that's
at
my
this.
own personal opinion.
I want to look at this real quick because this is an interesting look again at how albums were influential at the time of how longevity created artists.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on in my house? Miss World was released March 28th, 1994. Doll Parts was released November 15th, 1994. That is an ages difference between singles. Then on February 8th, 1995, Violet. Now, I think Doll Parts is my favorite song off the album, in my opinion. Now, Softer Softest. Ready for this? December 12th, 1995. From the first one on March 28th, 1994 to December 12th, 1995, 4 singles released, keeping this album alive. Absolutely insane how long they went.
It's like back in the days when you'd see when movies would run in the theater for like months and months and like 6 months, and now it's like if a movie's in the theater for like a month, that's a pretty decent run. So
Hole played their final show in Vancouver on July 14th, 1999. Interesting. I didn't believe it was that long ago.
I saw them play at Lollapalooza one year. The only cool story I have about that is that what's her name? Sinead O'Connor came out and sat in front of us for that.
Wow.
For the whole set, and had one of the largest bodyguards I'd ever seen. And Sinead O'Connor is a tiny person, so this guy was like 5 Sinead O'Connors, and I wanted to be like, I really liked your set, but I was terrified. So just sat there and watched Hole play, and they were fine. I mean, they didn't like. I don't know. It wasn't one of those shows that like changed my life or anything like that. It was fine. There was nothing. The most interesting thing was Sinead O'Connor about that set, but
I just want to let you know that during this entire talk of Hole, it took everything out of me anytime we said something for me not to hit the sheet. That's what she said button. I'm just gonna put it out there. Just gonna put it.
That's what she said.
You should. Yeah, there you go.
The whole time. Like,
perfect.
Anyway, but all right, now, drum roll, please. Coming in at number 7, Janet Jackson, The Velvet Rope. Now listen, I'm not a big Janet Jackson fan, but I can respect talent when talent's due. Now this one I had to kind of do a little bit of digging on, and then by golly, Josh, was I just proven wrong about how damn influential this album was. And here's the thing. I can justify not liking something, but understanding its value to music and its modern day everything in general. She still sells out arenas. She's still making music. Is it living up to what it was? No. But before we even discuss this, let's just look at the singles, because this is what I always find interesting, because once again, what was being done then is not being done now.
Yeah.
Got It Till It's Gone released September 22nd, 1997. Together Again released December 1st, 1997. I Get Lonely released February 24th, 1998. Go Deep released June 15th, 1998. A year later, You released September 3rd, 1998. And then the last single, 6 singles off this album, Every Time released November 17th, 1998. Almost a year and a half worth of singles. Bam, right there. That is
Mhm,
incredible what these things can do.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing that nowadays. There's no artist out there that's giving an album a year and a half. There's nobody. Now
Oh
there's
no, the record companies don't. No, they're not doing that. There's the promotion cycle is like 6 months. I mean, if it's not a hit within 6 months, they're on to the next thing. Um, but at the same time, this was Janet Jackson at, you know, potentially the peak of her powers. Is it my favorite Janet Jackson album? No. Uh, you know, this is on the more mellow side and that kind of stuff, and that's fine. It's just not my, you know, do I prefer, you know, like 1993 Janet? Yeah, you know, Black Cat, something like that, something a little more rocking. But that's me. I don't have any disrespect about the Velvet Rope being on the list, or you know, maybe I would like to see something that was further up. Maybe, I mean, let's be honest. And I know that this is Pitchfork, but
Mhm.
you know, Jagged Little Pill 51. Jagged Little Pill was
Yeah.
like the biggest fucking album forever.
Yeah.
I mean, and look at the how many singles were dropped off of that thing. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a Broadway show about the damn album now.
Yeah, and you look at just like, I don't know. That to me, that was one of the ones where I was like, you know, I'm glad to see that there's a female artist. You know, plenty of female artists in the top 10. That's awesome. But
Okay.
for me, I'm kind of like, you know,
Well,
Jagged Little Pill.
I do think, you know, when you look at it, for me, when
Mhm.
I think Janet Jackson, I think the one single, like "That's the Way Love Goes," that was my single. Like when I would go on a first date in my 1991 Ford Thunderbird.
You put
You
the
know,
CD or the cassette in there.
I had the cassette. I had a mixtape.
There
So
you
I had,
go.
dude. Everyone
I
had
am-
mixtapes in
yeah.
their consoles. Like that was
Yes, they did. Oh, I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
and like so like first date mixes, like, you know,
yeah.
break, like move on. Like I had a mixtape for like if I was on a date with someone I didn't want to, like, I wanted to end. It had like really loud, heavy music, and just so we can get this, like, all right, done. But if there was like, hey,
What'd you
know,
say?
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, this is great.
Where'd you want to go to dinner?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But you know, like if we're feeling each other, maybe she's holding my hand and maybe I want to kiss. I'm like, you know what? Let's slide in the Janet. Put a little "That's the
Little
Way
Janet,
Love
yeah.
Goes." Boom. By the time the song's over, maybe a little midnight kiss or something. Boom. It was good. That's the
Yeah.
Janet Jackson cherry on top Anthony special. Bada bing, bada boom. That's how you do it. That's it. That's it. That's how you do it.
So
That's
if you're
the
in
way
the
love
car,
goes.
if you're in the car with Anthony, and the Janet Jackson comes on, you're look out for the bada bing, bada boom.
You got to ask Brad about that. Brad knows that. We had a long trip to Oklahoma. I might have swung that song on.
And there comes the Janet.
That's right. We get over the border. And he's like, "Why are you holding my hand?" I'm like,
Yeah,
because that's the way love goes.
because that's the way love goes. Janet
That's right.
said it.
But here's the crazy thing about this album.
you know.
Look how many effing awards it was nominated for and won. I mean, a ton. I mean, just so many.
She's Janet Jackson, man.
She's
I mean,
Janet Jackson.
yeah, she's Janet Jackson.
She's Janet Jackson.
So,
and there's also the one thing about this album too is it had so many versions of the album. It had the Japanese bonus disc, the deluxe version, the single deluxe version, the special edition, the deluxe version. It was insane and also how many people were actually on the album. But
oh yeah, that's just like loaded with people. And how many did she sell?
3
million?
649,000 worldwide. 8 million.
I mean, yeah, she made some bank. She sold a lot of records.
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Coming in at number 6, Bjork. Homogenic? Homogenic?
Homogenic? Yeah.
Okay, good. I said it right.
All right, turning that over. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say something that's probably gonna get me slapped around a little bit on the internet. I don't like Bjork. I've tried getting into it. I really have. I remember at one point I went and bought a couple of CDs. I tried getting into it. Everyone's like, you got to understand the art side of it. And there's some bands I listen to that I definitely look into it as the art side of it. I just don't. I can't. There's not a song I've heard of hers that I want to listen to again. It just doesn't resonate with me. Now, do I appreciate everything she's done for music? 100%. Did she create an art genre to music and concept? 100%. there's an audience for her, yeah, but there's an audience for the Insane Clown Posse too, and you don't see me listen to that as well.
Yeah.
So Bjork, not my cup of tea. This is not a top 10 album for me.
It's not. I like Bjork, but in like a moderation sense. I like Human Behavior off her first record, Army of Me, which was on the Tank Girl soundtrack. I like, It's Also Quiet. I like some singles here and there. And I get the artistry and all that stuff. It's just not my favorite Bjork record. It's very like chill and like digitally, and I don't care for that type of stuff. I like Bjork. It's not my favorite Bjork record. Does it belong in the top 10? No. I think that there are other records that I would have loved to see in the top 10 instead of that. I mean, I think I've got a list of ones that popped up. I mean, let's look at female artists. I mean, Tori Amos, like we already said, Tori Amos, Little Earthquakes. We already said Jagged Little Pill. We've got, I'm going to drop this one later, but I'll just do it now. One that would be, if I was looking at some of the female artists that were on this list of these particular records for the top 10, one that I would drop in there is Fiona Apple's When the Pawn album. That thing is fucking beginning to end. It is amazing. And it's one of those records that I can't not listen to the whole fucking thing because it's just great. But yeah, so I'd slide that in here instead of Bjork. But I like Bjork, she's fine. But it's not something I'm feeling like, I haven't listened to Bjork in a while.
Yeah. How many lists are we gonna do that Tori Amos gets disrespected? I mean, honest to God, we bring her name up
Jesus
so many
Christ,
times.
I mean,
she was so fucking influential in the 90s. Her music was so ahead of its time. Her lyrics were beautiful poetry. Her music and her ability to play the piano was out of this world. Her albums from front to end, always good. She was an artist with album covers. Everything about her screamed like masterclass. And yet people always seem to overlook her. It makes no sense to me why people don't give Tori Amos the respect that she deserves. It drives me fucking insane.
Yeah. I think she's just, she makes great records. She's a super talent. I mean, she's a storyteller. She's a great performer. I mean, I don't see, talk about her cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit is like ridiculously insane. I mean, I think I know she's currently still touring. I mean, I think she'd be a great show now. I mean,
oh God, yeah.
I know Bjork's not really like,
she does festivals and
stuff, which is fine. And, but yeah, you're right. People don't respect Tori Amos and I don't know why.
I don't get it. Now, this is crazy.
We respect Tori Amos.
We respect it, damn it. We're starting the Tori Amos fan club. I am going to give you number 1, sir, and I'm taking number 2. We are the Tori Amos. What could we call each other? Like, what's like we're the
Cornflake Girls?
Ooh, I like it. We're the Cornflake Girls, damn it.
Cornflake Girls. Yeah.
That is right. Number 2, Cornflake Girl right here. Wait.
Yeah.
That's right. Number 2, Cornflake Girl right here. That's how we do it. Oh, Jesus. Man, it's been a long time since I've used the board. All right. Now, here's some crazy about this album. Doing all the research on this on singles, this is where it blows my mind. This is what you couldn't do this now. You couldn't do it in 2005. The first single, I think it was called Joga, Jogga, released September 15th, 1997. Bachelorette released December 8th, 1997. Hunter released October 5th. Oh, I mean, think about that. That's literally 10 months from the second single, was released October 5th, 1998. Then in November 30th, 1998, Alarm Call. And then here's where it gets crazy. June 7th, 1999, All Is Full of Love. So the first single, September 15th, 1997.
Oh my God, 2 years? Like almost 2 years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Jesus. And you know what? I was talking about this at dinner with the family. We were discussing the list. And I was like, I think that we should, and I don't think that this is asking too much. I think that we are good music consumers. We know, we look at this list we know who these people are. We know who these bands are.
I think so.
We shouldn't be looking at an album in the top 10 where we can't recognize at least one song. And you can't tell me that we've heard any of these Bjork songs from this record
Maybe
on
if
the
you played it, I've
radio.
been like,
Not
oh,
and
yeah, these
yeah, maybe, but I mean, I don't even know like the like one of the song titles. I
no,
mean, like any of these other albums, like obviously Nevermind,
sure,
the Tribe record. You at least know one song.
Janet Jackson.
You're like, man, I've heard that song.
That's right.
Yeah, I've heard that song.
Mm.
If you don't know at least one song off of one of these records, I think that should like automatically you should be in the top 10.
Disqualified. That's what I say.
Yes.
It should be disqualified. It should be put in the vault. All right, you ready for this?
Yes.
Coming in at number 5, Wu-Tang Clan, Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers.
I will say this. I love Wu-Tang Clan. I love
I
Wu-Tang
was
Clan.
listening to this record. I was listening to this record today. God damn it. It is so good. It
Fucking
sounds so original
Yep.
and innovative and different and just it builds a world out of sound. And it takes you into the slums of Shaolin, man. I mean, you are in it.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
And the sampling on this, the track titles, the way, think of how many artists are actually in Wu-Tang Clan on this album, the way that it's brought together.
Yeah,
The fact that I mean, now Wu-Tang in general, in theory, they didn't make a lot of albums. They didn't have a ton of albums that came out. There was, I'd have to look at it, but they really stamped music, rap in general, with what they were able to accomplish. Absolutely great stuff. I want you again to look at this. You ready? First Signal, Protect Your Neck. Not my favorite song on the album. Love it. But came out December 1992. Cream. Everybody knows what Cream stands for. Cash rules everything around me. January 31st, 1994. 94.
Yes.
And then Can It Be So Simple, February 22nd, 1994. How the hell they put the first single out December 1992 and over a year, so basically in January, let's just say, but still over a year and a month later, the second single comes out.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
Insane to me.
But it was just it's just such an achievement. I think it's so well done and intricately put together, and the rapping is so, like you said, so many different artists all involved in this, and it really is just an amazing record, and it sounds so great still, 30 years later. Just really, really, just it really doesn't sound like anything else. I mean, it's very, very original.
Yeah, 3 million albums sold in the United States. This was definitely a United States album, right? Like this. I mean, this at that time, rap was very much like this is the real true forefront. This was the visionaries of bringing rap to the mainstream. Wu-Tang Clan definitely was 40. That's ours. That is ours. We own that. It's the United States of America. Red, white, and blue. Wu-Tang Clan forever. It's for the children. But this album really is something special, and the fact that like that W will live on for infamy is infamy. Thank you very much. Is special. There you go. Look, there's a W flying. It's flying.
No,
this album, to me, I believe, could have been number 2 on the list. I really think it was that powerful of an album.
I think it could have been higher than 5. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it could. Yeah, I agree, because I got issues with number 1, but yeah, this was just something. It was something, and it's something that we're not gonna see another 36 Chambers album ever. I mean, it's like it's very much like it really made me think about Paul's Boutique, because like it's you're never going to see an album like that again, because they can't sample so much shit anymore and not have people sue the crap out of them.
Exactly, you're so right.
But even just with the rapping on top of it, it's great.
Exactly. Now, here we go. Drum roll, please.
Coming in at number 4, Liz Phair, Exile in Guyville. I feel like it could be like doing like those lucky Lucky Smokes. Give them to your children. They'll save your health
yeah.
forever. Lucky brand. 9.99 at your local flea market.
Lucky Strikes, baby.
Lucky Strikes.
Yeah. So here's our first concept album, unless you want to call 36 Chambers a concept album, which I think you could.
Yeah, you could.
But yeah. So Liz Phair, Exile in Guyville was definitely one of the ones where I was like, this is where I want my Fiona Apple When the Pawn to slot in here. I think it's a good record. The first single, Never Said Nothing, is a great song. But it just didn't click for me the way that like When the Pawn does click for me. I appreciate Liz Phair and what she was doing. I love the whole, Exile on Main Street, thing where she's trying to make her version of Exile on Main Street, which is, obviously the Rolling Stones, the classic Rolling Stones record. But I think that kind of the whole Exile on Main Street thing, the mystique of her making her own Exile on Main Street maybe overhypes this record a little bit in my mind. It's just not, it didn't hit for me the way that I thought it would.
I think this is where Tori Amos should be filled in. And also, I'm going to say that maybe if we talk about Tori Amos enough, maybe she'll come on the show. But no,
maybe she will.
Maybe she will. I am not a big Liz Phair like fan. It just not me. Doesn't speak to me. I'm not working out to that. I'm not driving in the car to it. It's nothing that's hyping me up. I appreciate it. Once again, talented musician. Only 2 singles that came off it, which was Never Said and Stafford on Guy. A lot of people, it is ranked in a lot of, album of the year, best albums of the 90s. Yeah. Greatest concept album of all time. It's ranked number 6 by Rolling Stone, which I could really fight that list.
We need to find that list.
It says greatest concept album of all times. It was ranked number 6 by Rolling Stone magazine. Oh God, Rolling Stone, you're schmucks. But yeah, it is an 18-song album. And I get it. It only sold 500,000 copies in America.
But yeah, it was an indie release, and it was she was an indie darling back then, and I understand the whole. I just don't. She's not. Liz Phair's not making music for me, and that's fine. No. She doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I don't have to necessarily think it's in the top 10, and I don't. I would go with on the list. Yes, absolutely. But When the Pawn at 19 is, I think, depressing. So
okay, I'm glad we're agreeing on things. All right, okay, let's get that drum roll going.
Coming in at number 3, Radiohead's OK Computer.
So here's my question. Here's my question for you on this one. Are you an OK Computer guy, or are you a Benz guy?
Oh, it depends on the day. It depends on the day.
Okay, it does depend on the day. Okay.
Like, if
gun to your head, you had to pick one.
Gun to my head. I think I'm going OK Computer.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
I'm the Benz, but
listen, I'm not trying to bend you or persuade you in any way, if you know what I'm saying.
No, I love from the opening of Airbag to the end of this record, exit music from a film. This is a brilliant record, and I think it's a record that wouldn't get made nowadays, probably. No. It's the record that, really propelled, I think, Radiohead into, one of the biggest bands of the world, kind of level. And I think it's great. It's creepy. It's weird. It's definitely experimental. You get the fitter, happier robot voice song. But I think it really shows the kind of twisted beauty that Radiohead was and really is to me. I think that this is kind of like the quintessential, either this or Kid A are kind of like the quintessential Radiohead records.
Yeah.
And I think it would be, God, if you could see them live, like play the whole fucking thing, that would be so amazing. Like if they would tour and just do.
Tom York is just an interesting. Tom York's just an interesting character, and he goes by the the beat of his own drum, and I just don't think that's his cup of tea.
Yeah, no, I think he wants to, have the freedom to do whatever they want, which is perfectly fine, But I think it would be awesome to see. I think I have a bootleg of. They played in New York when OK Computer came out, and they played most of OK Computer at some sort of tiny ass club. Could you imagine seeing Radiohead at a club? But
that would have been pretty dope. I'm supposed to go see the band Smile, with Charlotte, and I'm excited about that because it's in a small club here in Kansas City.
Absolutely.
But I had to tell my daughter, I'm like, they're not going to play Radiohead, but just understand and appreciate what we're going to hear. But this album,
that'll still be a great experience.
100%. This album though is full of amazing songs. The first single, Paranoid Android, which is probably the biggest single that came off there, came out May 26, 1997. Karma Police, that could be the biggest single that came off here. August 25th, 1997. Lucky, well, maybe that's the biggest single. December 1997.
And then Paranoid Android is like your 6-minute, your quintessential 6-minute single.
Yeah, crazy.
which is just that song just to me is just unreal.
Beautiful. And then No Surprises, which is my favorite song off the album, which came out in January 12, 1998. So not the longest lifespan for OK Computer in sense of how they did the singles. In less than a year, they had all 4 singles out. But, I mean, if you look at the track list, which let's get here. I mean, there's a shit ton of information about this on here going on down.
Yeah.
12 songs.
Oh, that's a good I'll have to read that later, yeah.
Oh, it's a ton of information on here, a lot of backstory. Airbag, Paranoid Android, Subterranean, Homesick Alien, Exit Music for a Film. God, that was in that Romeo and Juliet movie, and that really was such a, beautiful visually.
Yeah, Let Down is a great song.
Karma Police. Fitter, Happier.
Electioneering. I love Electioneering is one of my. Electioneering might be my favorite song on the record.
Climbing Up the Walls.
But
No Surprises is mine.
Yeah. They're all great. It's really. They didn't pull any punches on this bad boy. It was like let's just make it. And I love being a person that deals with anxiety and stuff like that in my life, to have Tom York be like, I'm a weird anxious person, and he makes a song like Airbag that's about the fact that he doesn't like cars and he doesn't feel safe in cars, and you start to think about stuff like that, and you're like, I'm traveling 70 miles an hour in a metal box down the road.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes, I think it kind of takes from the Police when they, in Synchronicity and stuff like that, when they sing about, people trudging down the roads in their metal boxes. It really, that kind of stuff speaks to me. So I appreciate Tom for being a weird, anxious person.
No, that's all. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I just love his brutal honesty as a musician and artist. He's not fake. He is who he is. So,
yeah,
for sure. So, yeah, I love this album. I love the placement of it. This could have been number 1 on the list, and I'd been okay with it. This could have been number 5. Anywhere in the top 10, this, I'm totally okay with it because it depends on your perception of this album and how it's portrayed into you, because this definitely fits moods and lifestyles. This is a fantastic album.
This isn't a record. It's not a record for everybody. I can't. No. Not everybody's like, man, OK Computer. But, yeah, it's if you have the time, give it a listen because it's worth it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. All right, now, drum roll, please.
Coming in at number 2, Lauryn Hill, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Excuse me.
I coughed. Oh,
you might need a cough drop.
I think so. The strep. I'm telling you, I'm gonna have strep throat till I die. I feel like this is brutal. This is another album that totally respect it. There was a point in my life I loved it. It doesn't really I tried listening to it recently and I just wasn't feeling it as much as I did the first time, but I understand how much this album did really landscape a lot of R&B artists from 1998 all the way to right now. So this is really a heavily influential album, like how some artists look to the Beatles' White Album or Sgt. Pepper. This is how some female artists look to their musicians, and I can understand that and respect it. And this is in a deserving spot. It really does have it's a home run hitter, and I didn't have this pulled up. I guess I must have clicked out of it by accident. So I'm gonna have to I'll let you talk, and then
Yeah, my so this is one my wife used to listen to this album all the time. It's one of her favorite records of all time, and she always talks about how great it is, and it is great. It's got great songs. It's Lauryn Hill. It's her first record. It's her first solo album, and she just
Insanity.
killed it. Yeah, I mean, and it is. It's really it just really stays up there with a lot of great R&B records and hip hop records. So yeah, I think it's really deserving at number 2. I think it could have been number 1. But I was really happy to see it on there. I expected it to be in the top 10. I expected it to be pretty high, and I think it deserves to be there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And
So, yeah.
And I mean, think of it. It really only had 3 big singles that came off of it, with Doo Wop, which is the most prominently known single that came off it in August 10th, 1998. X Factor, which came out December 8th, 1998. And then Everything is Everything, which is my probably favorite song off the album, is May 4th, 1999. And then really her second album, which was her Unplugged album, which was probably as brilliant as this album in the sense of how it was put out. It's just it's fantastic of what she was able to do at such a young age and such a young artist.
Yeah, really just a masterclass in performance and songwriting. Just really, really great stuff.
Couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, now we got it. We're going to number 1. Let me get my drum roll.
Coming in at number 1, My Bloody Valentine, Love List from the year 1991. Almost, or is it? It is going to be 32 years
32
ago.
years?
That's right, 32.
32 years ago, My Bloody Valentine, Loveless. Now, here's where I love this, but most won't. If you go upstairs and talk to my wife and showed her these top 10 artists, she would know everything probably from 10 to 2. She would have no idea what this is. If you go to my neighbor, who's pretty big into music, she probably wouldn't know what this is either. This is definitely where I feel like they were pulling a little bit. I love this album. This is a fantastic album. This is an amazing album. This was definitely, if it was in 1989, it'd probably be in the top, maybe not top 10, but it definitely was groundbreaking for its time and stuff like that. What are your thoughts of My Bloody Valentine?
I not a big fan. I've never really listened to them much. I think that this is a very Pitchfork type choice. Like, it's kind of like, we kind of know something you don't know. For number 1, I mean, I think if it were, I think if you look at like this and Nevermind, you're like, we'll put Nevermind at 10. We'll put My Bloody Valentine at 1 because we're fucking cool.
That's a cool. We're wearing a Black Flag shirt and we even know who the band is because we're so fucking cool.
So and they talk about how, creating a singular melding of dream pop and acid house and hip hop that became defined as shoegaze. Perhaps I like shoegaze music. I like some shoegaze bands. Do I think it's as influential as they're making it out to be here? I don't think so. But that's just me, and that's my opinion.
So honestly, for me, this is probably number 40 on this list.
Okay, and then for me that would track a little better. I've got a list of records, here that.
Let's bring.
I've got a list of records that I noted, when I was going through. When I was going through the list of 150, I mean, Super Unknown 148. That's pretty disrespectful. Depeche Mode Violator 136.
Depeche Mode. Oh Jesus! I hit a button. Sorry. Keep going.
You're good. You're good.
No, I'm hitting. Oh Jesus!
Great.
What the?
Grace. Jeff Buckley 135.
How is that? I mean that to me.
Tori Amos Little Earthquakes. Tori Amos, because we're the Cornflake Boys.
Cornflake Boys,
not Cornflake Girls. Yeah, Cornflake Boys.
Okay.
Rage Against the Machine 120. Dookie, Green Day 111. Summerteeth, Wilco 102. Siamese Dream, The Blue Album, The Bends, In Utero, Check Your Head Jagged Little Pill, The Downward Spiral, Last Splash by The Breeders, Fear of a Black Planet by Public Enemy, Either Or by Elliott Smith.
Mm.
And then there were ones that weren't on. I had a few that weren't on there, like No Code, any Oasis record, Blur. I'm a huge Blur fan. Park Life, Midnight Vultures by Beck, I think is his best record. So, Bachelor Number 2 by Amy Mann.
Yeah, Oasis was the biggest surprise for me. As big as that album was worldwide, and Pitchfork is an overseas brand, isn't it? Not American, correct?
No, they're American,
but
then, they're based in Chicago. But I think they have that that cool indie. There's the cool indie vibe, and which is cool, and I get that. But let's be honest. I mean, it's either definitely maybe or What's the Story Morning Glory. I mean, you take your pick. It's either it's like the Benz or OK Computer. Are you a definitely maybe guy? Or are you a What's the Story Morning Glory girl?
Did you ever see Oasis live?
I've seen Oasis live 3 times.
So good live.
Well, so the first time I saw them, I saw them and they were awesome. And Corner Shop opened up, which was really good. The second time I saw them, so my brother and I had tickets to see them on the same tour, 2 nights, not 2 nights in a row, but 2 shows in a row. And we saw them up near Cleveland. And it was a good show. Travis opened up, but we didn't get to see Travis. So we went to the second show in Columbus, went and saw Travis. Oasis did the same set and said exactly the same shit in between the songs, except the only deviation was Hello Columbus and Hello Cleveland. But the good story about the Cleveland show is we went to this, well, it wasn't even Cleveland, it was Canton, Ohio. And we went to this tiny little restaurant that was connected to an old train station. And I went to the restroom and came back, and my brother was like, "Is that Liam at the bar?" And oh yeah, it was Liam sitting at the bar getting trashed.
Gee.
And it was still a good show. But yeah, Liam was sitting at the bar at some little like hokey restaurant in Canton.
That is crazy.
Just like him and a roadie just like hanging out.
I saw them like right when they announced that. I saw their last show in America, which was in Washington, D.C. at GMU. Okay. They had just announced, like, it was the day before they announced, like, there's a last show in America. And I had gotten one, and I'm an Oasis fan, but I'm a huge Ryan Adams fan. And Ryan Adams is opening up for him and put on this amazing show. And you can see the tension on the stage. Like, there was, oh my God, the brothers were like, when one was singing and the other one wasn't, he just ran off stage. Like, and the other one would just stand there with his hands behind the back and look into it. Was just the tension. You could have cut it with a knife. But it was, they were so talented. The band was so talented. And the documentary that came out shortly after their breakup, which kind of showcased their final show and everything leading up to them, and kind of like how, I mean, it's crazy how much they hated each other and created such beautiful music.
Yeah, I follow a couple accounts on. Well, there's one account on TikTok that it's basically called like the Oasis reunion, and it's like, and every time they talk to, and Noel's over here, in America right now touring with High Flying Birds, and people ask him all the time. He's like, all his people just have to call my people. Like that's all that needs to be done, and I don't think Liam has any desire to, because that they could go play the biggest fucking joint in.
They can play fucking Wembley for 2 weeks.
Yeah, Wembley. Well, so what did they play? Shit, did they play? It wasn't Glastonbury. They played 2 shows. I can't remember the place that they played in England in the 90s.
The
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the English Fairgrounds, because that was part of the documentary, and it was ridiculous how many people were there.
They said they played 2 nights. They said they could have sold that place out for 2 weeks.
It's insane.
And it was literally like 250,000 people a night. I mean, so they could get 250,000 people there every day for 2 weeks. And just keep playing.
They were pulling Taylor Swift numbers before Taylor Swift pulled Taylor Swift numbers.
Oh, Taylor Swift is stopping in Cincinnati this weekend. So I got to tell you, it'll be an interesting, she's playing on my birthday.
With the traffic.
And yeah, we will be nowhere near downtown. There's actually, I have friends. So I have friends that are going, and there's a Reds game Friday night and the Taylor Swift show, which is the equivalent of a sold out Reds game and a sold out Bengals game at the same time.
That is insane.
So it's going to be wild. They're looking for like parking ahead of time. So I can't even imagine what it's going to be like down there.
Yeah, no.
It's going to be the Cincinnati downtown is going to be covered in glitter for weeks.
Oh God, no. I mean, but here's the thing. I will say this: good for her for doing what she's doing.
I think it's awesome.
The fact that she can make her own schedule. She told people like, "This is what I'm doing." The stage, from the people that I know have seen it, said the stage show is fantastic. She does a great job.
Fantastic.
Her vocals are supposed to be on point. What I heard that show she did in Nashville when it was raining, and she came out and did everything, and she was like, "I'm playing for the crowd. Like this is why I'm here." Fantastic.
I think it's great. I think it's so cool to see, people just going out and enjoying live music, no matter who it is. But I think it's cool to go see a spectacle like that.
I couldn't agree
more.
Did you
see any of the stuff from Glastonbury over the weekend?
It was interesting. So the rumor was there was rumors like that when the Foo Fighters came out to whatever that was, whatever the name was. Yeah. Originally, the rumor was it was Oasis, and then it was Foo Fighters.
Oh.
Like, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I got to watch some of the clips. I watched some of the Bonnaroo ones from the weekend before. That was cool. My Morning Jacket, holy shit! Like, I'm telling you, like, the older I get, the more I'm starting to fill into like the whole like if I had to choose from like where I'm gonna go see a show between Pearl Jam and My Morning Jacket, like I'm slowly like leaning to My Morning Jacket when it comes to things. I mean,
they played here this weekend in Kentucky, right over the river in Kentucky, and I heard it was a really amazing show.
Oh, the set list was fucking amazing. But the Bonnaroo one, they did that. What's it called? The Kate Bush
song.
It was
like 3.5. Yeah, I did see that, and they played for like 3.5 hours or something.
They're doing what
Kate Bush. We've talked a lot about Kate Bush lately. So
yeah. Oh man, we're like the Kevin Bacon effect. Right? We got the 7 ways of podcasting. Just all the shit. We're pulling all of it together. One day, all of our shows are just gonna come into one multiverse of podcasting with Tori Amos and Kate Bush.
Oh, the multiverse. Yeah. Tori Amos. We'll have to come up with a name for the Kate Bush fan club.
I
don't know.
The Bushers, right? Can we do the Bushers?
The Bushers.
The Bushers. That's right. I'm Busher number 1 because you took the tour.
How about the Bushwhackers?
Like the tag team from the WWE back in the day. I'm cool with that. Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, this was. I respect this list. I would say out of any of the lists we've done so far, it's very respectable. Things could have been moved around.
I agree.
I think number 1, once again, I think they did it just to be. I think that was their piece to kind of get headlines moving. Because, I mean, every article that's coming out, why do they do it? They're trying to get clicks. They're trying to get a stir. If it was a perfect top 10 that most people agree with, well, then it's not going to get the clicks and the stir and the buzz. So having My Bloody Valentine at number 1, I think that it draws that kind of conversation. But I also respect Pitchfork for coming through and saying, hey, this is how we did the process and coming through. This is the way we did it. This is the process we took to get it done. And this is our list because of that. Kudos to them. I can't say much more about it. Now, I will say this. Every list we've done over the last few months have been music-based. I think it's time to do a movie one. And I think it's time that we have a guest on.
Okay.
But I won't.
Who's going to be the guest? Your mother-in-law?
Oh, my God. Quick story. So I love horror movies. Okay, so I have been forcing my mother-in-law to watch the Conjuring series in order, and she can't fucking sleep at nighttime. She is literally scared of the Nun.
Uh-oh. Wow.
Love it.
What's your favorite? What is your favorite horror movie?
The original Evil Dead. I love the original Evil Dead.
Okay.
For the campiness of it, the humor behind it, the minimal budget behind it was done in such a way that it was fantastic. Monster Squad's another one I really love because that really hits home to me as a kid. Like
we were watching.
Go ahead.
We were watching trailers. So we're doing over the summer. We're doing a movie with the youngest, who's 10. 1 week. He picks one. When we pick one, and then we're doing it with the older kid too. And so we were showing him the trailer from the original Jumanji, and we've watched the one with The Rock and Jack Black, and he really liked that. And he's like, "This is the cheap Jumanji." And I'm like, "We've just spoiled like these kids with all of this all the digital stuff and everything." And we're like, "No, but they did this stuff. It was like practical effects, man. You got to appreciate practical effects."
Oh man, dude, it's crazy. Like when I recently watched Monster Squad with my kids. and they like it.
Yeah.
But it's like they don't understand. Like when we were kids, like we wanted to find Frankenstein. Like we wanted to be in a cool club, like hunting ghosts and shit like that. That was cool to us. But yeah, no, like I love old scary movies, especially ones that like are implied horror. Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one, it wasn't a gory movie. It was all implied horror. Like if you, I love that YouTube video of the guy asking people like, "Hey, do you remember when that hook went through that guy's chest?" And everyone's like, "Oh yeah." Never happened. It's just because of the visuals that it kind of makes you think it happened. And it did such amazing stuff. But no, I love old horror movies and no. So but I do love modern day horror movies. Like that new Evil Dead that came out recently is
did you like that?
So good. It is so over the top gory in almost an humorous way. And no, I'm so excited about it. But
did you see Smile?
Yes.
I thought that was really good.
Oh God, I do have one last story to tell you about Smile, and I think you're gonna like this. So my son, who was 13, went and saw Smile with some girl at the movies, and I hadn't seen it yet. And so he had his birthday party here with his entire soccer team, and they're in the basement where I have a big TV on the wall, and they're all hanging out down here. And he comes upstairs, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna go watch a scary movie downstairs." And I'm like, when I was your age, like that's what we did at sleepovers or hangouts. Like you watch a scary movie, you kind of get creeped out, you make fun of the kid that was scared of it, whatever. That's what you do. So they literally watched 14 minutes of this movie. That's it. 14 minutes of this movie, done. Right? They're tapped out. So I thought we were good. At about 10:45 that evening, as kids are starting to leave, I get an email from a mom. And she says, basically, and I'm summarizing this, how dare you let my kid watch a scary movie without my permission? It is disrespectful and irresponsible. I'm getting reprimanded right now. She follows up that email with a link to one of those things, what it's called, where like adults review the movies and shows.
Oh yeah.
And says,
is it called Common Sense Media?
I think so. She goes, and I think she
that's
even
what
said,
my wife uses, and I'm like, that's bullshit.
Oh yeah, and then she says to me like, "Where was the common sense in letting my child watch this? My child's scared out of his mind from this movie." They literally watched 14 minutes of this movie. I'm getting reprimanded by this woman on my team that I don't even really know her well. Our relationship now is frayed. Like she doesn't even look at me anymore. But I get I didn't even know I thought like if you're gonna watch a scary movie, I don't know, a Scream or something or whatever. But I guess things are different nowadays. I guess whatever. But yeah, I literally got emails sent to me about how I was being a bad parent for letting my kids watch Smile downstairs. So I had my son like email the kid and be like, "Listen, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do." But yeah, so that's my Smile story. I basically got yelled at by a parent for letting the kids watch it.
It's creepy. I thought it was pretty creepy, and I want to be creeped out when I'm watching a scary movie.
I agree with you on that one. I agree. I'm looking forward to we got coming up. We got Insidious 4 coming up. That's going to be a good one. That's the final chapter of that series. That should be an interesting one.
Yeah.
And then the new Nun movie, which the trailer came out recently, and I saw that in front of Boogeyman, and that made me jump like that.
Did it really?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Watch it when you get off here. Well, Brian, listen. Do you have anything coming up for sale or anything that people should be looking out for? Any posters dropping? Anything we should know about?
Not right now. Just chilling and doing some stuff on the side. But if I have anything, you guys will be the first to know. But you can go over to bmethe.com, bmethe.com, and use the coupon code "Thank You" if you'd like a discount on anything.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. And thank you for the code.
Well, thank you.
No. Thank you. Now, we're coming up to the holiday, otherwise known as 4th of July, where people light off fireworks, drink beer, eat barbecue, and stay in the backyard. I literally am having a party at my house on Sunday where I told my wife it was going to be 20 people, and I believe we're having 60 come to our house. So that's going to be interesting.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what I'm doing.
Don't show them Smile. Don't put Smile. You can just say, we have Smile on in the basement, and if you want to go watch that.
Anyway, well, where's the music? Where there we go. Let's start the music. All right. Well, Brian, once again, thanks so much for doing this show with me. You know what? I realized we've been doing this show for over a year now. It's been over a year.
Yeah.
And we're doing this.
Doesn't even feel like it.
I know.
Where does the time go, Anthony?
What's the old saying? You can buy friends, but you can't buy time?
Okay.
I don't know.
Sure, why not?
I say we end on that terrible notice. I'm Anthony,
Sounds good.
who can't say jokes and lets their kids watch Smile and gets their friends in trouble for watching it as well. That's Brian. He makes cool artwork. Oh, the other way. Makes cool artwork, is a really cool guy, and make sure his kids watch appropriate movies. Until next time, I'm Anthony. That's Brian. And this is another unnecessary list.